My apologies to everyone that the last video I uploaded, cost of living update, got uploaded in 360 view. Apparently really screwed it up. So I have changed that. I have converted it one little setting in my editing software. So here it is for those who want to watch it. Holy smokes! I just got back from a trip to the grocery store and I was literally shocked by some of the prices I saw, the increases in prices, some of the items. Now, this picture is an old picture from when I first came here, actually. I've also become aware of some other increases, electric bills, water bills that have gone up substantially recently, and I'm going to go over a few items there. Now, whatever country you live in, I suspect that you have seen huge increases in fuel costs, in electric costs, for your fuel for your vehicle, electric costs for your home, gas if you're using gas heating, gas cooking, those sorts of things. Welcome to the Philippines, and I suspect that still the cost of living here in the Philippines, of course, as I stated in the last video I did about cost of living, I'll link to that at the end of this video. You need to make choices. Need to know what your income is, what your budget is, and you need to make those kind of choices, whether it be what you rent, what you buy, what you eat, where you go, how you travel. You can find relatively cheap places to live, even in the city. There are options. There are ways of finding that if you're on that tight budget. And the thing to do is to network, to walk the streets. A lot of the less expensive places are not listed online. So you walk areas you think you might be interested in. You ask the locals. A lot of people post signs on walls, on telephone poles, and then you contact them, or better yet, have a Filipino friend contact them and get the details. There's also, of course, choices in whether you use air conditioning all day long and all night, or whether you use a fan part of the day. And my electric bill, I'll get into some of the details here in a little bit. We've been fortunate the last couple of months. We've had a lot of cloudy days, cooler days. Even now it's a sunny day, but I've had my doors and windows open. It's cool enough where I don't need the air conditioning going with a nice breeze. Many of your other choices: where you eat, what you eat, how you travel. If you're going to travel first class all the time, of course, it's going to cost you more. There are airlines that offer throughout the year. They offer some really good deals to travel and really discounted rates. Same thing with resorts, hotels. Hotel rates can change daily. And if you're traveling into a city that has a festival and the demand is higher, or if you're traveling into area, I had a friend I had coffee with the other day. He was staying in IT Park at Seda Hotel, and the rate went up substantially. I think from 6,000 up to 9,000 the next day. And he decided to move elsewhere, 9,000 a day, because there was some kind of convention in town using that hotel as its base. You can eat very cheap. This was up at one pavilion place, I think, little place, but you look at some of those prices. Very cheap peso meals if that's what you want to live on. Now, I prefer to buy in the grocery store or at the public market more and more and cook most of my own meals. That's my preference. One thing I've noticed recently in a couple of grocery stores, it seems like especially the imported foods, many of us prefer to find and to buy, have gone up dramatically. I've watched it happen over the last 3 years, and I've seen it, especially the last few months, seems to have gone up considerably. Part of that is shipping costs. Part of that, I think, is grocery stores trying to recoup some of the money that they did not get during the 2 to 3 years of travel restrictions, with millions of travelers out of the country. The official inflation rate here is about 8.5, something like that. But fact of the matter, personal, every inflation is personal. It depends on what you buy, what your personal experiences are. To talk a little bit about renting here and some of the costs. The condo fees where I live now, this is not, I lived here at Persimmon Condos for a number of months a few years ago, but my condo fees where I live now have gone, they were 62 pesos per square meter, and I'm at 45 square meters. Now it is included in my rent, so I'm not seeing these increases yet because I have a lease, but eventually I will see that. She'll want to raise the rent, no doubt. But it has gone from 62 several months ago, maybe 3-4 months ago. They increased it to 75 pesos from 62. That's an 18% jump. And January 1st, it went from 75 pesos to 100 pesos per square meter. That's another 25% jump. So that's 38% difference, and that's about the equivalent of 1,710 pesos per month. In other words, from about 2,790 pesos a month for condo fees up to 4,500 pesos for condo fees. So if you're on a tighter budget and you see that kind of increase come through, because some leases will say that you are responsible for paying the condo fees. Now, electric prices have also gone up. I've been pretty much, most places I've been between 12 and 13 pesos per kilowatt hour. And that several months ago, they upped it to 15 pesos per kilowatt hour, and now it's at 18 pesos per kilowatt hour. So a couple months ago, my bill was on a day when it was on a month where we had a lot of clouds. I had my doors and windows open quite often. I had 244 kilowatt hours that added up at 15 pesos per kilowatt hour. That come to 3,660 pesos. At 18 pesos per kilowatt hour, that is about 732 more pesos, up to 4,392 pesos for that month. Now, an average month is more like when the sun is out, 372 kilowatt hours. With that increase from 13 to 15, that would bring it up to 5,580 pesos per month, and I pay the electric, and you generally will in a lease, or about 100 US dollars. And at that same amount at 18 kilowatts is 6,696 pesos, or about 1,100 more pesos. So you add that to your condo dues, add that to your electric and your fees. And now one other thing they did, water went up from, I average about 400 pesos a month, and this is relatively small, 400 pesos, a couple dollars, or $8 actually. But now they have a minimum of 600 pesos per month, or about $12 a month. It's not a lot, but it is another big increase. With a minimum, it affects those people who are on the tight budget much more than people who have some extra money to spend. Now, as far as rent goes, I'll give you my opinion on a couple things. We are in the high season. November, December, January, February. You've got New Year's. You've got the Lunar New Year. Some people call it the Chinese New Year. Sinulog Festival, other festivals in various cities around the Philippines. So it's a high season. People from the colder climates are taking their vacations, 2 weeks, a month, longer, and coming to the Philippines or Thailand, different Southeast Asian countries. And I've seen more foreigners here in Cebu City during the Christmas season and during Sinulog. I've seen more lights on in the condominiums and hotels. But at the same time, it's not like it was 3 years ago. It's still there's still thousands and thousands of units, condominiums, apartments, hotel rooms, resort rooms, sitting vacant. millions of people, when the lockdowns came, went back to their country, and a lot of those people are not traveling yet. Maybe, so we're in the high season. We're going to go into the quote unquote low season, and I think that the vacancies are going to remain quite high, and I've seen some numbers for vacancy rates in the Manila area, and it is quite high still. And now they're talking about POGOs, Philippine Offshore Gaming Organizations. There are many legislators that want to ban them, and they take up a lot of office space as well as residential space, not just in the Manila area, but other cities like Cebu City and other cities. So if they end up banning them, then that will open up office space and more residential spaces as well. They rent thousands of units, and so that affects the market as well. So my thinking is that, if you're very conscious of how much you're spending on rent, take your time, do your homework, search, and you can find the cheaper places. You can negotiate for the lower rents. Of course, there are many landlords trying to make up for all the lost time from all these travel lockdowns that the government put in place, and they've been losing money. Their units have been sitting vacant for 3 years basically, and got a friend here. He said a lot of places he contacted wanted a 6-month lease, 1-year lease, but he said he had to get back. He wasn't sure exactly how long, and he finally found a place that they were desperate. Their place has been empty for 3 years, and they said, okay, we'll do it month to month, charge him a little bit extra per month, and he's gone with that. I think in the end he's going to be leaving here in a few weeks. He'll be here about 3 months, I think. Location has a lot to do with if you want to live in Cebu Business District, Makati, other Bonifacio, other high-end areas of Manila or other cities, then of course the rates will go up. Obviously, IT Park, location. So it's up to you to decide. And as I stated in my previous video, the so-called experts will often tell you should only spend 25, 30, 35% of your net income, your take-home money, on rent and or house payments. So you figure that up. Take what you have guaranteed coming in and multiply it by one of those figures and plug those numbers up. Decide how much you're going to spend on food and stick with that. Keep track of it weekly. I've got guys with families here that tell me they spend 15,000 pesos a month, about $300 on food for the whole family, and they eat more Filipino style, I presume. One thing to keep in mind if you are coming to the Philippines and you're going to meet somebody here, somebody you've been chatting with online, is that gift giving when you arrive here and in many Asian countries is customary, and you will feel a bit foolish if you don't show up with a gift. About 18 years ago I went to China. Unfortunately, I found that out before I arrived and was able to purchase a gift because they also presented me with a gift at the airport, people I was meeting. They love chocolate, something from your home country, branded chocolate, candy, something. And even here, if you, I think they call it pasalbong, or didn't pronounce that right, something like that. If the family or you or whoever travels out of the city, out of the town, province, comes back, they've got all these pasalbong, I know I'm saying it wrong, gift shops where you can buy little thing, usually food, might be chicharron, which is pork rind, or various things that are popular in the part of the region that you're visiting. I'm going to tell you a true story, and one thing that you'll hear often here, and I've heard it many times, can you do me a favor? And that usually means, can you give me money? They'll say, can you borrow me money? But it means, can you give me money? And there are so many needs here, and they're legitimate needs. But if you're rich and you can solve all these issues, great. Um, I know a couple guys, one in particular, that he's got he's been here I think 7 years, something like that, similar to me. Bought a condominium, met a number of different girls, and he has helped them out. He helped one get a pay for part of her kidney transplant. She's on and off work jobs. He Every week he gives me some money to go send her go to Palawan pawn shop, send a wire transfer to her. Might be 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 pesos each week. He's got a couple other girls that actually he meets and goes shopping, does some grocery shopping with them, and of course he buys them lunch and gives them each money, and not really past girlfriends I think, but still he's giving them money, and then he also pays for a helper to come in I think 2 or 3 times a week, and I think he pays her 1,500 for each day that she comes over. He pays her for 8 hours, but only uses her 3 or 4 hours, I think, to help him cook and clean and various things. But it can be a little overwhelming. It's so easy to say, yeah, here's 500, here's 1,000, here's 5,000. I've had people ask me for much more, and you need to learn to say no, whatever excuse you make up. If you've got the budget, do as you will. But it's habit forming, and whoever you're supporting starts to rely on that, just like somebody who's getting a government check. They start relying on that, and I could go on and on about that, but I'll just leave it at that. It's up to you to keep control of your money, especially if you're on a tighter budget. And once you start handing out money, start losing control of your money, and you don't know how much you're spending, how fast you're spending it, believe me, you're going to run into trouble. There are always emergencies. There's going to be medical expenses, your own medical dental expenses, other emergencies perhaps where you have to travel someplace, and if you become attached to somebody, they and their family are going to have medical, dental, educational issues, travel expenses, and anyway, it can add up very quickly and get control. You can lose control. Believe me, I've seen it. I've seen it so many times. You will be asked to invest in a business, no doubt, no doubt, some point in time. Uh, Not just by Filipinos, but by foreigners who've got a really good idea, and just be aware there are risks. If you can't afford to lose that money, probably shouldn't be spending it. Anyway, it's all relative to, of course, the cost of where you're living now. Can you afford to keep living where you're at, with the energy costs, with transportation costs, with inflation in your own country? The Philippines offers tremendous opportunity, um, change of lifestyle, uh, get rid of some of that stress. I've had a number of people say, "Yeah, I want to come to the Philippines and start a new life," and you can. Just don't bring your problems along. Leave your problems at home. Have control of your money. Know what your budget is. Know what your budget is. Before I came here, I watched a lot of videos. I ordered books, read books, and I did my budget over and over and over again, and thought, well, what can happen? What can happen? What unexpected expenses? And plan for those. And first thing you should do is, on your net income, is set some aside for emergencies, for saving, and do that every month. But yeah, come to the Philippines. Great opportunities here, great place, friendly people, many speak English, so many places to see, things to do, and if you're bored, it's your own fault. But understand your money situation, and be smart, live smart, spend your money smart. I'm going to end this video here, and I will put a link to a couple other video things about money, things you should know about money, and the last video I did about cost of living as well. Thanks for coming along. See you next time.